raise your hand if you've ever heard the word rabbi before. I've heard the word rabbi. Okay. Madison, what do you know about that word? Not sure? Do you want to think about it? I can come back to you. Okay, anybody else want to share if they've heard that word? Blake?
Rabbi means something particular.
Well, rabbi is a teacher or sort of an expert in the Jewish religion.
Oh, I
Okay?
thought that was
So it's sort of like who wants to raise their hand and tell me what religion they are if they go to church? Mr. Casey.
Catholic.
Catholic, okay. So who's kind of the lead teacher at your church?
I don't know.
I bet you do. I really bet you do. I'm not looking for a name of a person. I'm looking for like their job title, what you call them. Not a person's name. What is that person's job? Like my job is librarian. What is that? Do you want to try it? Yeah, try it. What do you think? Lydia, do you want to help?
I forgot what I was going to say.
Okay, that's okay.
At my church, the capital teacher is Mrs. Susan.
Okay. Who's the person who kind of is the lead teacher at the church? Camden?
A priest.
A priest. Okay.
And the man priest is called Father Walter.
Oh, cool. Okay. So you can think of a priest as being sort of like a rabbi. Hands down for now. Anthony? I need you to sit on your line. Thank you. Okay. Now, there's also a language, sort of an older Jewish language that's called Yiddish. Can you say that? Yiddish.
Yiddish.
I don't know much about it, but one term I use quite often is oy vey. And oy vey is kind of like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. Oy vey. You know, these kids are making me nuts today. Oy vey. And another one, and that one is in this story. And another one that you'll hear today is kafetch. Could you say kafetch? Come with me, please. Good. Now, kafetch is to whine or complain. So raise your hand if you've ever whined or complained about something before. Okay. Yeah. All right. So you could say that you were a kafetch. Good. Well, this story is called The Crowded, Noisy House. Sometimes it has another name to it, and I think you'll understand what it is when I tell you when we get to the end. Now, before I get started, there's a few people in here that are not in position to listen. That means on your bottom, legs crisscross applesauce, hands in your lap. Thank you, Mick, so much. Thank you, Edith. Okay. Once there was a poor Jewish man. The poor Jewish man went to speak with his rabbi. Rabbi, the man said, you must help me. My life is terrible. I live with my wife, our 5 children, and my mother-in-law. There was only one room for the 8 of us. The children, they cry about everything. My wife, she screams a lot. My mother-in-law, she kafetches about everything. It is crowded and noisy and horrible. I will tell you honestly, Rabbi, I don't think it could be any worse. The rabbi rubbed his chin as he pondered, as he thought about that. The man's situation. My son, he said, if you will promise to do as I tell you, your life will get better. Will you promise? Yes, yes, said the man, I promise. Tell me, said the rabbi, do you own any animals? Yes, said the man, I have a goat. Good, said the rabbi. Go home and take the goat into your house. Let it sleep and eat with you for a few days. Do you think this is a good idea or maybe a not so good idea? Sydney? I agree, but we'll see. The man was stunned. Take a goat into the house? The rabbi's advice sounded like a crazy idea. But everyone knew the rabbi was a wise man, and so the poor man agreed to do what he said. He went home and led the goat into his house. 2 days later, the man went back to the rabbi. Oy vey, he said. I did as you said. I brought my goat into the house, but things are worse than before. The children, they cry and fight. My wife screams a lot. My mother-in-law, she kvetches about everything. The goat, she butts us with her head and knocks the dishes off the shelves. Help me, Rabbi. I don't think it could be any worse. Yes, said the man. The rabbi sat quietly for a moment, then he asked the man, do you have any other animals? Yes, said the man, I have a cow. Good, said the rabbi. Go home and take the cow into your house. Let it eat and sleep with you for a few days. Again, the man did as he was told. He went home and he led the cow into his house. 2 days later, the man went back to see the rabbi.
That's not going to help.
Oy vey, he moaned. I did as you said. I brought the cow into the house, and things got even worse. The children, they cry and fight. My wife, she screams a lot. My mother-in-law, she kvetches about everything. The goat, she butts us with her head and knocks the dishes off the shelves. The cow, she eats our clothing. The house is like a barn. We can't sleep for all of the bleating and the mooing. What do you think bleating is? I'm just going to say, you know what mooing is, right? Who's making the mooing noise? Ian.
The cow?
Right. So what do you think bleating is? And if you were going to guess, Shannon?
The sound that the goat made.
Absolutely. Yep, you got it. Good. Help me, Rabbi. I don't think it could be any worse. The rabbi was silent for a long time. Then he asked, do you have any other animals? Well, said the man, pausing, I have a goose. Perfect, said the rabbi. Go home and take the goose into your house. Let it eat and sleep with you. 2 days later, the man went back to the rabbi. Oy vey, he groaned. Things are worse than ever. The children, they cry and fight. My wife, she screams a lot. My mother-in-law, she kvetches about everything. The goat, she butts us in with her head and knocks the dishes off the shelves. The cow, she eats our clothing. The goose, he honks and he poops on the floor. I tell you, it is wrong for a man to eat and sleep with animals. I don't think it could be any worse. My son, said the rabbi in a gentle voice, you are right. Go home and take the animals out of your house. You will find the answer. The next day, the man came running to the rabbi. Rabbi, he cried, his face beaming, you have made life sweet for me. Now that all the animals are outside, the house is so quiet, so roomy, and so clean. How wonderful. What's so funny or ironic about the way the story ends compared to the way that it began? And what happened, really? Yeah, Chloe? It was perfect, but it was the way it was when? At what point in the story? At the end and also at the... Yes, right? Was his exact house in the beginning, when he was miserable, right? My kids, they're screaming. My wife's always complaining. You know, my mother-in-law's, no, my wife is screaming. My kids are fighting. My mother-in-law's kvetching, whining. And here, so the rabbi had all these, you know, crazy ideas. Here it winds up the same, and now the man's at peace. It's interesting, right?
Yeah,
we talked a lot about fables the past, you know, few weeks, and every fable has a what? Every fable has a what? Yes, Sydney? A lesson or a, what's that other word? Morgan?
Moral.
Moral, good, okay. If you had to write your own moral for this story, what would it be? This is tricky. Think about it for a minute. I want to see more than 5 or 6 hands. If you had to come up with your own moral for this one, what would it be? Go. Got a lot more hands. Let me go with Kaylin back there. Kaylin.
No one should ever bring
Okay, this is true.
How about dog or cat?
Okay, this is very true. Kaylin, I agree with you, but can you think for a deeper meaning? Think about what Chloe was just saying, right? About the way the story ended compared to the way the story began. How the poor man went to the rabbi looking for advice. You know what might help you guys? And I see some more hands, so I don't want to give you this hint yet. But let me take one more hand, and then I'll give you a hint that might help you if you're going to write your own moral. Oh gosh, I see a lot more hands. Let me go with Trey. Trey, if you were going to write your own moral for this story, what would it be?
That if your house is crazy, then if you put animals in it and then you take it out, you're going to be happy.
Okay, you're close, kind of to the right track for me. You're talking about their overall happiness. Max? True. And deeper. Shannon?
That the animals were so much work that they made them tired, and then once the animals were out, they got to rest.
True. I'm still going on, though. Somebody used the word happy. And I'm not going to call on you if you're not in a position to listen. There's too many of you. Okay? So I can't see all the people behind. Let me tell you what this story is often called. This folk tale is often called "It Could Always Be Worse." You've maybe heard that phrase before. Gosh, it could always be worse. It could always be worse. No matter how bad you think things are, it could always be worse. So knowing now that that is what this folk tale is often called, and about happiness, what would you say a good moral could be? Morgan.
You should be happy with what you have.
Yes! That's exactly what I was thinking. Be happy with what you have. Be happy with what you have. Okay.
It's
Good.
just like going with the flow. I also have one.
It is sort of like the goose that laid the golden egg, a little bit. Okay, hands down though, that was great. I have just a few more questions. What problem is the man having at the very beginning? Just kind of clarify that for me. What is his problem? Before he realizes that he should just be happy with what he has. Sarno.
The wife is screaming. His kids are always crying and whining. The grandmother is always bragging.
Yeah, kvetching. Kvetching.
And then he goes to
The Jewish teacher.
and the other thing.
Starts with R. Ra. The rabbi.
The rabbi, and then the rabbi tells him that he should, and then the rabbi says, "Do you have any animals?" Then the man says, "Yes," and then the man says, "Yes, I have a goat," and then he goes home and he.
Hold on, okay, let me stop you right there. Does his suggestion, does that help? That suggestion that the rabbi gave him that time about bringing in the goat, did it help him?
No.
No, good. Okay, let's stop there. All right, I want you to find someone next to you in a minute. Don't move yet. Okay? And what I want you to do is ask your buddy or buddies, if you have to have two, that's okay. Ask them a question about this story. You come up with a question. I don't want the questions to come from me today. Ask them a question. So I'll give you like a minute really to think about that. Then to ask your question, then listen to your partner's question and answer them. You must answer each other. Now here's the thing. When you turn back out to report to me, I'm going to ask you, what your partner said, maybe what their question was, what your answer was. So you have to not just be a good speaker, you have to be a good listener. Okay, go ahead, find a buddy right next to you. Just turn to a buddy and ask them a question. Any question on the story. Yeah, that's perfect. Okay, good.
And then mine is
Wait, go to the position and listen. I'll know you're ready. Like I can tell Blake is already ready. And I think Julia's already done with her conversation. Looks like Ava's done with her conversation. If you're not done, I apologize, but at least one or two will, a few of us will get to report out. So, like I said, if you're in position to listen now, looking at me, I'll know you're ready to chat. Mr. Sarno, please do that for me, even if you're not done. Okay, hands down. I'm just going to roll call for you. Dylan, what was your question for your buddy? Okay, what did you ask about when the goose pooped? What, honey? I'm sorry, I can't understand. Yes? What about the house?
With the animal.
Okay, but what was your question? Who was your buddy? Mick, okay. Okay, and Mick is raising his hand. I see, Mick, do you want to clarify a little bit? Okay, tell me.
My question is, why did the man make all his animals in the house?
Oh, good. And was Dylan able to answer that question?
It was Dylan, me, and Brody.
Okay, what was the answer?
The man told him.
Good, okay. And let me hear from Blake.
What was all of the people and animals doing inside the house?
Okay, and what did your buddy say as an answer?
I think he said kids were crying. No. What? I said it took them all out.
Okay, good. Okay. All right, boys and girls, thank you very much. What I need you to do now, we're going to transition into book exchange. Ms. Mulholland's going to pull up our report because we never did that today. What you may do is tiptoe back to your seat and turn your attention towards Ms. Mulholland. Right? Yes.